deeply shocked by what we've just heard about the expulsion of senior humanitarian workers. You've heard me time and again here raise our concerns about Tigray, now I would say about northern Ethiopia. We know that there are people who are starving in the region, particularly in Tigray, but we're recognising the risks more generally in northern Ethiopia. What we want to see is that people who need food, who need water, who need medicine, who need access to basic human resources are in a position to access those.
Anne Fitz-Gerald is the director of the Balsillie School of International Affairs, and she joins me now live from Toronto. Good to have you on the program with us. Give us some context. What do you think is behind these expulsions?
Well, it appears that 7 senior UN officials from the humanitarian partner agencies in Ethiopia have been declared persona non grata and asked to depart Ethiopia within 72 hours. So under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, there is an Article 9 that allows sovereign states to use a minimal measure, I would say, of persona non grata to ask diplomatic officials to leave a country without explanation. It's always helpful to have some sort of explanation of what's happened, but it's often used as a symbolic gesture of displeasure. It also seems that the Ethiopian government has cited individuals as opposed to institutions. So these measures are not being taken against agencies or institutions per se, but individuals within those institutions. So whether it's based on an encroachment of national law or a suspected encroachment on national law or the laws of the land remains in question.
As far as the humanitarian aid, who is really blocking it?
Well, I think this is a key question that, and it's a question that the Ethiopian government itself has expressed some frustration towards in recent weeks, particularly the Office of the Minister of Peace, Muferriat Kamil, because it is feeling that the punitive measures and the calls of condemnation that the international community is issuing are towards the Ethiopian government and not towards the other party to the conflict, the TPLF fighters. I think there are blockages that local humanitarian workers have reported that have to do with logistical points and border crossings being blocked by TPLF fighters. We've had the destruction of roads, which, and food aid deliveries need functioning roads to operate on. We've also seen fighting and the expansion of conflict into neighboring regions of Amhara and Afar. And of course, conflict itself creates a blockage for humanitarian aid to get through, let alone the destruction of roads, the checkpoints, etc. So there is evidence, and perhaps the biggest form of evidence that we've seen over recent weeks have been these 428 aid trucks. And these are no small aid trucks. These are very sizable flatbeds, 428 of them that have gone missing. And we haven't seen any calls for an investigation that looks at the disappearance of these trucks, the possible misuse of these trucks. We've seen all sorts of reasons cited for the trucks not coming back, including the absence of fuel. But some of those statements have been debunked amongst different analysts, including a Tigrayan reporter herself from Los Angeles. Also, it's notable that the president of the TPLF, the Tigray region, Debretsion Gebremichael, said in a statement on Tigrayan TV recently that, in the last few days, that fuel that the government had left had been identified and found, and that fuel would be used sparingly and in a rationed way to support the military effort, but that the military effort had to be prioritized. So that raises questions about the extent to which military operations are being prioritized over humanitarian operations.
And if you can quickly, because we don't have too much time, we are looking at a very serious, potentially humanitarian situation. Is there anything that can help?
Well, I think we all hope that this situation can be rectified. It would be just very relieving if some shuttle diplomacy can be done between the UN and humanitarian partners and the Ethiopian government to restore a better relationship, hopefully restore the trust that was in place prior to the last 6 to 8 months. Maybe some revised statements could be made by the UN agencies, affording blame to two parties in this conflict and not just one party, and perhaps not just pointing fingers at the Ethiopian government for 8 blockages, but appreciating the wider set of dynamics and maybe calling for an independent investigation into what's happened to all these aid trucks.
Okay.
So, we can hope that some shuttle diplomacy efforts can rectify the issue and maybe even restore the authority of the National Disaster and Risk Management Agency that's always presided over humanitarian operations in northern Ethiopia, a highly food-stressed region, which is many communities it hosts have been on food safety nets for a long time.
Okay.
The current system is clearly not working.
Okay. And we'll leave it there. Ann Fitz-Gerald joining us from Toronto. Thank you.